things. And join us again at 8:10. Great. Are we recording?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll check back in with you just before 8 and for a final sound and video.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
See you later.
Bye. Hey, Joe, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how is my sound?
Sound is perfect.
Okay, let me just see. Okay, test, 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 test. Good.
Still sounds good.
Okay, great. And video is good?
Video is good.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And we will begin shortly with Marie's Crisis. Yay! Hello, my name is John Fisher, and this is Marie's Crisis. I was off to New York City. I had an opportunity to go there and direct. I was so excited. Now, to help me tell this story, you're gonna have to make some sounds. Yeah, like the old days, right? You're gonna have to give me some bands and some motors and things like that. So let's rehearse. Yeah, time for rehearsal. And I can hear you out there. I can hear you. So make sure you get into it. Get really excited about it. You can do it with yourself or with your pet or with whomever you're sheltering in place with. Very exciting. So let's start with a very simple vamp. Okay, here we go. It goes like this. Dun, dun, da, 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 dun. Okay, now you try it with me. And dun, dun, dun. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Everybody, get the pets involved. Come on. Here we go. And dun, dun, da, 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 da. That was great. I heard that. That was great. This is a good group. Good Thursday night group. I love it. Okay, one more time. Here we go with the vamp. Dun, dun, da, 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 dun. Great, that's all you have to do. Again, dun, dun, da, 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 dun. I love this group. I love this group. This is a good group, good group, good group. Now, you're gonna do the vamp once with me, and then you're gonna keep doing it just without me, and I'm gonna sing, okay? So here we go. And dun, dun, da, 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 dun. Keep going. Dun, dun, start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes, da, 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 are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in the city that doesn't sleep, to find I'm king of the hill, ha, top of the heap. These little town blues are melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you. New York, New York, dun da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun da 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 dun. Boom! That was great. You guys were great. I heard a ton of lies out there, and Frank, I heard it all. That was wonderful. What a great start. You're inspiring. You got me going with that one. Yay! I was off to New York City. Yeah, New York. My friend Willow had come out to San Francisco, and she offered me a directing job. She wanted me to come back east to New York City and direct some one-acts that a friend of hers wrote. I was thrilled. You see, I was drifting since I graduated from undergrad at UC Berkeley. I've been drifting for a year, not doing any theater. It was bad. And then here came this opportunity, New York, New York. So I bought myself a cheap airline ticket, and I went to the airport, and I got onto People's Express. Remember People's Express, the airline? Yeah, it was like no food, no drinks, no entertainment, no bathrooms, no pilot, no seat, nothing, but it was cheap. So I went to the airport and I got on the plane, and now you're gonna give me some airplane noises, some jet noises, okay? So here we go with the jet noises, okay? Oh, good, good, good. I'm hearing some of you. Come on, get the rest. Oh, I heard a dog bark. Great, the dog's involved. Good, 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 good. Make the dog growl, though. Growl is a better sound for an airplane. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna take off on People's Express. Here we go. And I was headed to Manhattan, to New York City. And here we are. I look out the window, and there it is. Downtown Manhattan. I can see it through my window. Okay, here we go. We're circling into Newark, where People's Express lands, and we're gonna make a landing. Okay, so make the sounds. Good, good, good. Power down, power down. I've done it. I was in New York, and my producer, the producer of the plays, he picked me up at the airport in a convertible. I couldn't believe it. There was a convertible right there waiting for me at Newark. It was beautiful. It was yellow. It was a VW Bug vintage. It was great. And I got into the back seat and I sat on top of a bunch of phone books. Remember those phone books? Yeah, to get some height. I felt like a field marshal. And he drove me into Manhattan. Give me the vamp. Bump, bump, bada, bada, bump. Start spreading the news. I'm arriving today. I'm gonna be a part of it. Bump, 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 bump. New York, New York. And we raced into Manhattan. It was glorious. And we drove all the way through Manhattan to Brooklyn. And he dropped me off at my apartment in Brooklyn. And then rehearsals started for the plays. I was so excited. And the rehearsals went well. And after 6 weeks of rehearsal, the performance opened, the show opened, and it was wonderful. And on opening night, we had a sold out house. And at the end, everybody clapped. Clap for me. Yes, yes, I can keep it. Yes, yes, yes. Do some whoops, do a few whoops. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, that's great. What a good group. Clapping. And afterwards, out in the lobby, leaning against a wall, I found David Mamet, one of the great American playwrights, David Mamet. He was there that night. I couldn't believe it. He was out there in the lobby, leaning against a wall. I walked right up to him and I said, Mr. Mamet, it is such a pleasure to meet you. I've read everything you ever wrote. I love your plays. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Good show. Thank you, Mr. Mamet. Thank you. I couldn't believe it. David Mamet was there. He was there on opening night. I was so proud. And it seemed to me that I was on my way. I was making it in New York. Here, give me another vamp. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, keep doing that. Dun, 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 dun. Good. Dun, dun, dun. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what life is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I worship, all I long for and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. New York City, this was it. It was happening. So here I was in New York. I had proven myself. I directed something. So how to fit in, how to make connections, how to meet people, how to become a New Yorker. Now, here's the thing. Everybody around me, everybody I was interacting with had a persona, a really strong persona. They had these big personalities that was very New York. The producer of the show, the guy who picked me up in the convertible, he was a hippie. So he drove that yellow VW and he like smoked joints all the time. Dude, you gotta relax. You know, you're too uptight. I've seen the way you direct. It's too manic. You gotta be cool. That's what you gotta be. You gotta be cool. When are you gonna stop being cool? This will help. Take a toke. Go on. Join me in being cool. And then the playwright, the guy who wrote the plays, he was like a Greenwich Village intellectual, like a real beatnik type, somebody from the 50s. He wore a tweed jacket and he was my age. He was 22 years old, but he smoked a pipe. You see, what you don't understand about my play is the A effect. You didn't alienate the audience. You tried to please the audience. No, you should alienate the audience. Up too close, we cannot see. Back too far, we cannot feel. You were way too close. That's what you didn't understand about my play. The alienation effect. You should have alienated them. And then the executive producer, the guy who raised all the money and managed it, he was the most amazing. I didn't even know that these guys really existed outside of movies. He was an urban cowboy. So what we're all going to do is build the set. We're going to build the set right here on the sidewalk outside the theater because I don't want to pay to rent the theater when all we're doing is building the set. So we're going to build it right out here on the sidewalk, and we're going to paint it. And then at 3 o'clock, when we get into the theater officially and start paying, then we can take it in. Now, John, you're the director, so you're gonna swing the hammer. So get some nails and a hammer. And you, young lady, you're going to do the staple gun. And you two over there, yeah, you're going to do the painting. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to stay out here on the sidewalk and make sure that anybody who asks what we're doing knows. Get them to buy a ticket to our show. All of these characters in the middle of Manhattan. I couldn't believe it. They were so colorful. They were so wonderful. The executive producer, an urban cowboy, the playwright, an intellectual, and the producer, a hippie. It was amazing. So what would I be? What would I be? I needed a persona because I was just this guy who wore jeans and a t-shirt. So I decided to go to Abraham and Strauss, A&S in Brooklyn, and I bought a jacket. I called it an Archie Bunker jacket. Yeah. And I bought myself an Archie Bunker hat. And I decided I was going to be like Archie Bunker. I was going to pretend I was from Queens. I was going to talk like this. I was going to say this and that and those and therefore. I wouldn't be like an idiot. I wouldn't talk like an idiot. I'd talk intelligently, but I'd always talk like this. No. I want all the actors on stage, and okay, I want you all to cross stage right. Okay, no, do it, just do it. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's cool. Now I want you all to do the dance number. Okay, the big dance. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's cool. That's cool. This is really working out. I would be like Archie Bunker. That's what I decided. Yeah, that would be my persona, and I would blend in because Archie Bunker was from Queens, right there. I had music. I had a music of my own. Now, it wasn't my music. It was actually some music I picked up at work. You see, I worked at FAO Schwartz, and there was a guy there I thought was a real cool guy, and he turned me on to Supertramp. Now, Supertramp wasn't really my kind of music, but my kind of music was kind of embarrassing. You couldn't really share it with anybody. So I had to sort of fit in. So I kind of forced myself to fall in love with Supertramp. And here's the album. I did like this about the album. I always love the album cover. Isn't that a great album cover? There's New York City. Yay! Downtown New York. Now, what I never noticed about this album cover until I was preparing this piece, and then I discovered this. Look at this. It's from an airplane window. It was just like me arriving in New York. It's great. And I also just noticed this week that this great waitress, I've always loved this waitress, she's actually the Statue of Liberty, right? Like the Statue of Liberty is holding the torch, in the book, right? The waitress, she's holding, orange juice and a menu. It's great. It's so clever. I loved it. And I also thought when I looked at this, because I hadn't looked at it in forever, look at the Twin Towers. Amazing, huh? And sad. This might sound really cynical, but it's not. I'm not being sarcastic. On 9/11, when the Twin Towers collapsed, the terrorist attack, I thought of a night when I was in New York and I had some drinks with my friend Shayna Samuels. And we had a great time. And I had too many martinis. I had way too many martinis. And when I came out onto Broadway, I had to walk north to get back to my hotel, but I was so drunk, I couldn't figure out which way to walk. Then I looked south and I saw the Twin Towers there south of me. And I thought, if I keep the Twin Towers at my back, I'll be able to find my way home to the north. And I walked north with the Twin Towers at my back and found my way back to the hotel. And then on 9/11, when the Twin Towers collapsed, I thought, wow, from now on, I'll always be lost in New York. Anyway, I got turned on to this album. It wasn't really my music at all, but there was one song that I loved, and that was the Logical song. And we'll sing it together, yeah? Let's sing the Logical song together. So here we go, and we're going to give you actually the song to sing with us, right? We're going to give you the song to sing. Oh, there it is. And there's going to be a cursor that follows along, and you can follow along and sing with me as you follow along on the words, okay? So here's the Logical song from Supertramp's Breakfast in America. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful, a miracle, Oh, it was beautiful, magical. And all the birds in the trees, well, they'd be singing so happily. Oh, joyfully, playfully, watching me. But then they sent me away to teach me how to be sensible, logical, oh, responsible, practical. And they showed me a world where I could be so dependable, oh, clinical, intellectual, cynical. You see, I really like that song. The main reason was it felt like me. Like when I was young, I had this wonderful joy, this excitement that propelled me through high school. And then I went off to the university and it kind of buried me. It made me so practical, so real. I lost something. And I could really relate to that music. And here was the problem though. There was no me in New York. I was trying to be all these different things. I was trying to be this cool director. I was trying to be Archie Bunker and saying this and that. I was listening to music I didn't care about. Well, I mean, I could relate to it, but it wasn't my music. I was too shy to talk about the music that I loved. There was no me there, not in New York. You see, in high school, 5 years before, I had discovered myself. I had found myself in high school. I found myself in theater. I was a little theater queen, just a little drama gay boy. But, you know, there was no sex. I was just like gay in my head. I didn't even know what I was, but I was just like super, super drama, drama, drama. I did every play by Neil Simon. I loved his plays, and I loved being in musicals. I was in Man of La Mancha and The Boyfriend. And then in my senior year, I was Nathan Detroit in Guys and Dolls. And I loved that. I loved that. And that's the music I would listen to all the time were musicals. Driving around my father's car, I would listen to musicals. And now I was Nathan Detroit. And the first big song in that show, the first big song is just Nathan Detroit's name over and over again. Come on, let's sing it together. And 1, 2, 3. Why? It's good old reliable Nathan, 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 Nathan Detroit. If you're looking for action, he'll furnish the spot. Even when the heat is on, it's never too hot. Not for good old reliable Nathan, 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 Nathan Detroit. It was great. And I was fabulous. And I was totally out of control. I had so much energy and I was so excited all the time. You couldn't direct me. This poor woman trying to direct it. I just came up with my own stuff. I even came up with my own choreography. I was so enthusiastic. You see, she did a great job choreographing that opening number. It had great choreography, but I decided I was going to dance across the front of the stage when they sang my name. And I stole my moves from Jimmy Cagney in Yankee Doodle Dandy. This was me in the opening number. Why, it's good old reliable Nathan, 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 Nathan Detroit. It was great. I was on fire. I was fabulous. I had such a terrific personality in high school. Energy, 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 musicals, drama, being sarcastic all the time. It was great. Now, I had this idea when I went off to college that I should go to the best college I could get into. Yeah? I mean, that's a pretty good idea, right? Go to the best school I could get into. And I managed to get into UC Berkeley. I pulled every string I could think of, and I got into UC Berkeley. It was great. And I went to the drama department the first day of classes, and I realized they didn't do musicals. UC Berkeley didn't do musicals. No, they didn't even do plays written by people who spoke English. Everything was like a European play translated into English badly. I mean, the only plays I was ever in were like by Beckett and Brecht and Michel de Gelderode and Franz Grillparzer. Okay. Listen, could you just raise your hands? Just raise your hands. I want to see a show of hands. How many people watching this have heard of Michel de Gelderode? Huh? Michel de Gelderode, yeah? Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows who this person is, but I was told he's a very important playwright. He is Belgium's most important playwright. What? Belgium's most important playwright? I was in 2 plays of his, 2, not 1, 2, and they were so boring. And my friends who weren't in theater would come and see them, and they were like falling asleep. It was horrifying. And finally, in my senior year, I got into a play by a playwright. I actually knew the name, Euripides. That's as close as I got to it. Euripides? It was incredible. And the whole time, and this is what really got me, was Everybody said I was a bad actor. They kept telling me I was a bad actor. And yet I was in show after show after show. I mean, I was constantly in shows. I was like in 3 shows at once. But people kept saying, you're a bad actor. You have been trained wrong. Whatever you picked up in high school is wrong. It is wrong. And I was like, how can that be possible? I keep getting cast. And then I figured it out. They just didn't like me. They didn't like me off stage. They didn't like all the energy, all the excitement, all the horsing around. Berkeley was cool. It was all about being cool. And I was not cool. I was like, I was explosive. I wanted to do musicals and comedies. And if I wasn't going to do them, I was going to do all that stuff in rehearsal, and they didn't like it. So I learned not to change my acting because I don't really think that was the problem. I learned to change me. And by the time I graduated, the me had been beaten out of me completely. It was gone. There's no me left. I thought it was wrong. Fortunately, I met some great people at Berkeley. One was my friend Jillian. Yeah, she loved musicals. Yeah, and she and I would just sing musicals and talk about musicals. It was great. And I met Michael, my one and only. Yeah, he's the one for me. We met in the dorms. It was so cute. And I just like Michael as a person. He was so interesting, so fun, so clever, so intelligent. Yeah. And, we came together. Yeah. We hooked up. Yeah. But it was weird. I didn't know what to think. I mean, at that time, it was like Berkeley was not a good place to be gay. I mean, everybody's just too into being cool. There was one flamboyantly gay guy in our drama department. What is the point of drama departments? There was one, everybody else was like in the closet. So naturally I was too. And I couldn't deal with the gay stuff. I just didn't fit in. It was a weird time for being gay, a weird time. So I didn't come out, but I met Michael. I was happy about that. And I could be me with Michael, and we loved each other. It was sweet. So by the time the play closed in New York, there was nothing. I had no personality, just put-ons, just phony people, personas I assumed, music that I pretended to like, and I'd made no impression. People liked the shows, but when they met me, they just thought I was blah, or they thought I was weird, or they thought I was off. I was just a lonely Archie Bunker wannabe. At Halloween, I changed my persona. I decided for the Halloween party, for the big Halloween party that Willow threw, my friend in New York, I would go as a bag of dog food. What? Yeah, I got this huge bag of dog food. I emptied it and I wore it over myself with a dog bowl on my head, walking down Broadway. I was followed by a bunch of dogs sniffing me. It was ridiculous. I mean, that was a persona. Fortunately, Jillian came to town. She came to New York and we decided to get together, and I got us passes through Willow to Area. Yeah, and Jillian said, what, are you kidding? You got us passes to Area? That's the coolest club in town. I said, yeah, well, I happen to know Willow. And she got us passes and drink tickets. And we passed that vicious line. And I didn't dress like a dog, a bag of dog food. And I didn't dress like Archie Bunker. I dressed right. I wore a nice shirt, necktie, nice slacks, dancing shoes. It was great. And Area was famous because every 3 months they redecorated it. And when I first saw it, it was nights. That was the theme, nights. And you walked in, there were these huge display cases full of bats, live bats. It was weird. And then when we went, it was Highways of America. So everywhere you walked, you were like on a highway, and then you could pull over and go to like truck stops and stuff. It was amazing, the level of decoration. And we went in, and Jillian and I danced, and we had some drinks with our drink tickets. We didn't do drugs. Now, there were a lot of drugs there, a ton of drugs, but Jillian and I were pretty, square. Yeah, we were square. I mean, proud square, like rectangle. Like we were really into our squareness, but we didn't do any drugs. But it was a nice night. I got to be myself with somebody I liked. And at the end of the evening, I put Jillian into a cab to go back to her hotel. And I walked up Broadway. It was about 2 a.m. I was too jazzed. I felt great. So I decided to take a walk up Broadway. I was walking up Broadway in the middle of the night, And this is before, that awful mayor, Rudy Giuliani, showed up and cleaned up New York City. This was the Ed Koch era. It was dirty, it was cranky, it was smelly, it was dangerous, but I loved it. It was everything I hadn't had growing up in the suburbs. It was tough, and I felt like I was a part of it. And here I was in the middle of the night, walking through the middle of it. It was incredible. And then coming towards me were a bunch of teenage kids. I thought, how great. Where else in the world at 2 a.m. are a bunch of teenage kids allowed to be out having a good time? And they're walking towards me, and I was walking up Broadway, and I passed through them. I sort of threaded them. As I was walking past one of them, he grabbed me by the necktie and yanked it as hard as he could. I was shocked. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before. I was strangled. And I kind of stumbled forward, and then another one of these kids punched me as hard as he could, in the side of the face. I'd never been punched before. I haven't been punched since. It was horrible. And I was stumbling up Broadway, and I knew I had to keep moving through these kids. And I was kind of bouncing off of them. They were kind of shoving me. And finally, I got to the end of them, and my jaw hurt, and I could barely breathe, but I didn't want to slow down. I wanted to get away from them, and I loosened my tie. I was completely stunned. I got to the next street, I crossed it, and in front of me was this huge Winchell's Donuts, bright yellow, blaring into the darkness. The smell of Winchell's Donuts, of donuts, sugar, filled my lungs, and then I saw right there in front of me another kid, my age, like 22, with blood gushing from his nose. His girlfriend was standing beside him, crying. I walked up to them, and I said, "Did those kids just beat you up?" And he said, he was almost crying. He was trying to fight back the tears. And there were cops there writing stuff. And I said, "Those kids are right there. I mean, they are right in the middle of that block." And the cop said, "Yeah, we know about that. We're just writing this up." And I said, "Writing it up? Why don't you go get them?" "Excuse me, sir. We have to write this up. Then we'll check it out, okay?" I was like, fine. So there I was. I'd gotten beaten up on Broadway in the middle of the night. I got another job in theater. It wasn't a directing job. I wanted one, but I was made a stage manager. It wasn't a job I was trained to do, and I'm not sure I was particularly good at it, but it was a job in the theater. I just sort of felt like, why am I here? And I used to come home late from my stage managing job. It was an opera company, and I liked everybody in the company, but we had to work until like midnight, and then I had to come home on the subway. And I used to run from the subway station all the way to my apartment building, just run. That was the only way I could figure out how to stay safe. I lived in a dangerous neighborhood, and the only way I could figure it out is just run all the way as fast as I could. I picked up a cassette one night. It was a movie called 52 Pickup, which starred Roy Scheider and Anne Margaret. And I ran from the subway, ran all the way to my building. I was going to watch this movie in the middle of the night. I wasn't sleeping well. I was eating late at night. I had horrible habits. I'd stay up all night watching stuff. I never got any sleep, but I was running. And I finally got to my building safely. And I walked in the building. I walked by the security guard. I said goodnight to him. But I noticed that 2 kids entered the building right behind me, and they walked past the security guard. They said something to him. I didn't hear what it was. I went up to the elevator and I waited for it, having pressed the button. And standing beside me were the 2 kids. And then the elevator door opened. And I got on the elevator with my cassette. And the 2 kids got on with me, and the door closed behind us. I was almost shaking. I pressed 12, and the elevator started to rise. They did not press a button. I said, "Where are you guys going?" They said, 12. We're going to 12. "You don't live on 12. No, we're going to go see a friend of ours." "Who's your friend?" Her name is Anne Margaret." They'd read the name off the cassette. I looked at the door. I stared at the door. Finally, I heard a ding. We were on 12. The door opened. I walked out of the elevator. I turned left, and I started walking down the hall to my apartment, and I realized that they were behind me, following me. I thought, oh my God, they're going to try to get into my apartment. So I turned around and I said, "Look, you guys are not coming into my apartment. You are not coming into my apartment, okay?" And then I made a big mistake. I turned my back on them. And all of a sudden, one of them grabbed me around the neck. I dropped the cassette. They yanked me down the ground. The other one pinioned my shoulders down, pinioned my arms with his feet, with his hands, with his knees, while the first one searched me. They took everything off of me, all my money, my Walkman, my headset, everything. And then one said, lay here for 5 minutes. Don't try to come after us. And then they ran off and went down the stairs and left the building. I was in shock. I wasn't hurt. That was what was weird. I was not hurt. I just lay there for a minute. And then I got up, I ran, I opened up my apartment. I got inside, I locked every single lock. They had almost gotten into my apartment. What would have happened then? It was horrifying. I had been mugged in my own building. I was getting beaten on the street and mugged in my own building. And I was working a job I didn't even want to be doing, stage manager. I was going nowhere in New York. I thought of another song that wasn't mine. I picked it up from somebody else, started singing it because I thought it was cool, but I did like it. Give me a guitar. Dun, 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 dun. I was just talking to the moon, hoping someday soon that I'd be over. Memory of you, too hard to hold on. A Don Henley song. I was alone in Manhattan, a target going nowhere with no me. E.B. White wrote a book called Here is New York in 1948, and he talked about this phenomenon, the loneliness of being in this huge city. This is what he wrote. On any person who desires such queer prizes, New York will bestow the gift of loneliness and the gift of privacy. It is this largesse that accounts for the presence within the city's walls of a considerable section of the population. For the residents of Manhattan are to a large extent strangers who have pulled up stakes somewhere and come to town, seeking sanctuary or fulfillment or some greater or lesser grail. The capacity to make such dubious gifts is a mysterious quality of New York. It can destroy an individual or it can fulfill him, depending a good deal on the luck. No one should come to New York to live unless he is willing to be lucky. Two words stick out for me when I read this now, queer and luck, and I'll get back to those words. But of course, what occurred to me at that time, cowering in my apartment, attacked, mugged, not working a job I liked, no personality, was destroyed. I felt like I was being destroyed by New York, by my dream. The wrong music, the wrong job, no persona, lost, trapped in the big city. My mother called. I don't even think it ever crossed her mind that she was kind of a delivering angel with this phone call. She said the university had called up our house, left a message for me on hers and my father's answering machine because they didn't know how else to reach me. UC Berkeley said I had never graduated. I was 2 units shy. I had 2 units of self-paced Spanish that I had never completed. And I was like, 2 units? What? I had like hundreds of units. They couldn't just give me the 2 units. No, I had never graduated. And my mother told me that the message said that if I don't finish those units by the end of the spring semester of that year, I wouldn't get a degree ever. I'd have to go back and start from scratch 4 years from the beginning to get a proper degree. I was like, no way. I am not going to be an undergraduate at Berkeley again for 4 years. No way. So I decided I'd take a few weeks off from New York. I committed to stay in New York for a year, but I'd take a few weeks off. I'd go home and I'd finish those units of self-paced Spanish. Anyway, I would finish those units. So I went home. And I asked Michael if I could stay with him, and he said yes. And we rekindled our bliss. We found our bliss again. It was wonderful. It was the best ever. There was no school around me every day. There were no drama people around me all the time. I didn't have to worry about what I was. I just had to be Michael's boyfriend, and I loved it. He's such a charmer, my one and only. And we had the best time for 3 weeks. It was magical. And I got my 2 units of self-paced Spanish and I got my degree. I finished it. Yeah, I was done. I was done with undergraduate, but I'd committed to New York City. And Michael understood. I told him I have to go back, but in July, I will be back here. I will be back here with you. So after our blissful 3 weeks, I returned to New York, full of confidence, full, I felt, a little bit of me, old me, and a little bit of new me. I mean, when I got back, I got offered another stage manager job. Now, this was good. I mean, I was getting a reputation as somebody who was reliable, but I said no. No, I did not want to be a stage manager. I had no interest in being a stage manager. I said to the executive director of this opera company, I said, no, I will direct, but I will not stage manage. I was like, what? Out of the blue, I'm suddenly demanding a directing position? I mean, where did this boldness come from? But I was persuasive. I said to him, listen, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. You will have the best time watching rehearsals. I will give these people so much of my energy and my creativity and my passion. I will move them around the stage. I will make this the most exciting opera you have ever produced. I promise. And he said, okay, how about this? I'll watch the first rehearsal and you keep an eye on me. And if you see me do this, come back and talk to me because it's not working. If I don't do that, then we'll say it's working. I said, great, wonderful. I went into that first rehearsal and I was ready. Now you're asking, where did I get this boldness? Where did it come from? I don't know, from Michael, from, I don't know, 2 units of self-paced Spanish. I don't know, from just being tired of being a victim. Life had been happening to me. And now I decided I was going to happen to life. I went into that rehearsal and it was great. Everybody had the best time. They were laughing. I empowered them to be creative, to move, to do sight gags, to do silly things. It was like a party, that rehearsal. And I looked back at the executive director in the middle of the rehearsal and he went like this. He was right there on my side. And afterwards he said, I don't know how you learn to do what you do, but you do it well. That filled my heart and I was just me. I just let myself be me and show my joy of directing. It was incredible. And I nailed those operas. I nailed them. The first one was Giannischiki, this comic opera by Puccini. And I swear to God, I actually made it funny. It's impossible to make opera funny. Opera is not funny. I made it funny. I gave them all sorts of business. I just made it silly. And it was also very moving. It was such a wonderful cast. And the next show, the next opera we did was La Bohème. And I was smart enough not to mess with that. Don't mess with the singers. Let them do their stuff. Keep it simple. Keep the blocking simple because all they have to do is sing this beautiful music. And they did. And I built them this beautiful set. It was a Parisian tavern, a tavern in the winter. It was incredible. I was so proud of it. I nailed those operas. And in that opera company, I met Ladd. Ladd was a magnificent tenor. He was great. He could be funny. He could be romantic. He was just so on it. And this beautiful tenor voice would just soar out of him and fill the theater. And he was gay. And, you know, we became buds, Ladd and I. And, you know, Ladd and I, we love movies. We love to go to movies. So we saw some movies that spring. I mean, you know, we saw The Untouchables. But we did go and see on opening show, we went and saw Project X with Matthew Broderick. This was his follow-up film to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Project X. This was great. It was a Matthew Broderick feast. It was incredible. Now, this movie, okay, so here's a project. This is audience participation. This is a project. This movie is not available on any platform. You can't get it on iTunes or Netflix or Amazon, nothing. So listen, Group project. We have to get this movie onto a platform. Okay. We have to get, yes, we do. No, come on. We do. Even the dog. There's a dog out there. I know. Even the dog has to, we have to make an effort to get this movie onto a platform. It is great. It's got everything in it. It's got Matthew Broderick in it. Adorable. It's got the US Air Force in it. It's even got monkeys. The monkeys are the star. It's a movie with everything. It's incredible. And Lad also knew that I love musicals. We used to ride around in the subways singing musicals, trying to trump each other, right? On our musical comedy trivia knowledge. And one night, he took me to the West Village, to the gay neighborhood. He took me to Marie's Crisis. So we went to the West Village, and I didn't like gay neighborhoods because I never felt like I fit in. It was all about, getting drunk and sex and obnoxious behavior and being bold and gay. And I didn't fit into all that. It made me nervous, but we went to the West Village, and just off of Sheridan Square, we turned a corner and I saw the sign, Marie's Crisis. What a name. What does that mean? And we went under the sign and we went down a little stairway. And we opened up a creaky door and we entered a tavern. It looked like an old tavern and it stank of stale beer. And I looked across it and there was this huge bar with this magnificent work of art on it made of glass and soldered metal. It was amazing. It was like a WPA work of art of the revolution or some sort of revolt, some uprising. And there were all the bottles and people at the bar. And then over in another corner, there was like a fort. It was like a fort or a boat. And inside of it, fortified, was a pianist. And behind that pianist was a crowd of people. And this pianist was the best pianist I'd ever heard. He had so much energy and it was broiling hot in there because it was packed. And he was wearing like a tank top and shorts and sweaty as heck. But the whole bar was full of men. Men of all ages, men of all types. It was magical. And there was no conversation in there. There was no pressure to pick up or have sex or talk about anything gay, nothing like that. It was just a whole bunch of men, all different ages, all different types, all drinking and all singing in chorus, musical comedy songs, only musical comedy songs. And that's when I sat down. I got myself a beer. I hardly drank ever. One sip and I was drunk, basically. What was I doing here? But that first song told me exactly where I was. I was home at Marie's Crisis. And the first song we sang was from Chorus Line. Everything was beautiful at the ballet. All men singing this. So sing it with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Daddy always thought that he married beneath him. That's what he said. That's what he said. When he proposed, he informed my mother he was probably her very last chance. And though she was 22, she married him. Life with my dad wasn't ever a picnic, more like a come as you are. When I was 5, I remember my mother dug earrings out of the car. I knew they weren't hers, but it wasn't something you'd want to discuss. He wasn't warm. Well, not to her. Well, not to us. But everything was beautiful at the ballet. Graceful men lift lovely girls in white. Sing with me. Yes, everything was beautiful at the ballet. Hey, I was happy at the ballet. That's when I started taking classes. Up a steep and very narrow stairway to the voice like a metronome. Up a steep and very narrow stairway. It wasn't paradise. It wasn't paradise. It wasn't paradise, but it was home. This was Paradise, Marie's Crisis. This was my music. This is the music I was afraid to sing with anybody, let anybody know that I liked, because it was so gay. And here it was okay. I could sing the women's songs with a whole bunch of men. It was incredible. I loved it. And it was paradise and it was home, just like in the song. Now I had like 3 sips of beer. And suddenly I became one of those obnoxious people in a bar, right? Where did this come from? I had no bar personality, but it just came out with 3 sips of beer. And that great pianist, he asked for suggestions. Does anybody have a suggestion? And I said, play Adelaide, Adelaide. Yeah, play Adelaide from Guys and Dolls. He said, listen, okay, young man, that is not from a musical comedy on stage. That's from the movie. It was added for Frank Sinatra. Does anybody, come on and play Adelaide. Young man, we only play songs from Broadway musicals on stage, okay? But since you're such a loudmouth, I'll play you something from Guys and Dolls. And he played the best love song ever. I've never been in love before. Sing it with me. I've never been in love before. Now all at once it's you forevermore. I've never been in love before. I thought my heart was safe. I thought I knew the score. But this is wine that's all too strange and strong. I'm full of foolish song, and out my song must pour. So please forgive the helpless haze I'm in. You see, I've never really been in love before. Oh, it killed me, that song. I loved it. From Guys and Dolls, the best song ever. I had to go to the bathroom, so I went to the bathroom. But on the way, I saw payphones. And, I've had like 6 sips of beer at this point, but I was like loaded for some reason. And I picked up the payphone. I talked to the operator. I made her call Michael in San Francisco. And when he answered the phone, I said, I love you. I love you so much. I've never been in love before. And Michael was like, hi, who is this? It's John. Hi, are you all right? I'm fine. I love you. I miss you. I love you. I miss you. I love you. Okay, well, be careful, whatever you're doing. I'm fine, but I love you. Okay, well, be careful. I will. I love you. I love you too. I stumbled back to my seat, and they were now playing the best musical comedy song ever. I love this song. It's from Chicago. It's called Class. If you know it, sing it with me. Whatever happened to fair dealing and pure ethics and nice manners? Why is it everyone now is such a pain in the ass? Whatever happened to class? Whatever happened to please, may I, and yes, thank you, and how charming? Now every son of a bitch is a snake in the grass. Whatever happened to class? There ain't no gentlemen to open up the doors. There ain't no ladies now. There are only pigs and whores. And even kids will knock you down so they can pass. Nobody's got no class. Whatever happened to old values and fine morals and good breeding? Now no one even says oops when they're passing their gas. Whatever happened to class? There ain't no gentleman that's fit for any use, and any girl will touch your privates for a deuce. And even kids will kick your shins and give you sass. And even kids will kick your shins and give you sass. Nobody's got no class. All you read about today is rape and theft. Jesus Christ, ain't there no decency left? Nobody's got no class. Every guy that you watch has got his brains in his crotch. Holy crap, holy crap. What a shame, what a shame. What became of class? And then, of course, I was off yelling again, play Adelaide, play Adelaide. This was my music, and these were my people. This was me, Marie's Crisis, the theater queens. Play Adelaide, come on and play it. And finally, the pianist said, to the young man who won't shut up about a song that was never in a Broadway musical, here it is. And he slammed his music book in front of him, threw open the page. The song written for Frank Sinatra for the movie version of Guys and Dolls, Adelaide. I'd actually made a request in a bar, and now they were going to sing my song. So here, let's do it. If you know it, join me. Adelaide, Adelaide, ever-loving Adelaide is taking a chance on me. Taking a chance, I'll be respectable and nice. Give up the cards and dice and go for shoes and rice. So, gentlemen, deal me out. Do not try to feel me out. I got no more evenings free. You can scratch me. Since Adelaide, Adelaide, ever-loving Adelaide is taking a chance. Talk about your long shot, taking a chance on me. It was stellar. The music, the decor, the community. You see, gay life up to then had always scared me. It had always been so frightening to me because I didn't fit in anywhere. But here it was in its simplicity, singing along with other gay guys these songs that I loved. The community, the first bar I'd ever enjoyed, and it is the best bar on the planet. And there I was. And then Lad said, shh, be quiet, don't say anything. I said, why? She's going to sing. Who's going to sing? She is. There's a woman in here? How did a woman get in here? What do you mean she's going to sing? Shh. Her, that drag queen, Ruby Rim. Ruby Rim? Yeah, she's a famous drag queen. She's going to sing. Okay, what are we singing? No, not me, her. She gets a solo. I thought everything was chorus. Shh, be quiet. Ruby Rim. Is that really her name? Yes, it's Ruby Rim. Well, shouldn't that be conjugated like Ruby Rims or Ruby Rimmed or I don't know. Shh, be quiet. And then Ruby Rim put down her tray, took off her apron. She was actually the cocktail waitress, but a famous drag queen downtown. And she started to sing Bill from Showboat in this beautiful falsetto. I used to dream that I would discover the perfect lover. Someday I knew I'd recognize him if ever he came round my way. She was so serious. It was like she was on the stage at the Metropolitan Opera. And then she sang it. But along came Bill, who's not that type at all. You'd meet him on the street and never notice him. His form and face, his manly grace are not the kind that you would find in a statue. This was amazing. I sat there with my mouth hanging open, except for an occasional sip. I couldn't believe it. The multiplicity of gayness and all that I loved, the drag, the falsetto, all these guys singing, the mean, bitchy pianist, drunk, bitchy me. It was amazing in this beautiful place. I'd found Mecca. It was incredible. And only a block away from us on Sheridan Square was the ridiculous theatrical company, with its star, the greatest drag actress of all time, Charles Ludlam, the camp god, who one day would inform my own sensibility, would influence me as a writer, director, and actor. He was right there. Even as we were enjoying Marie's Crisis, he was performing one of his final epics, a play called Salambo, based on a book by Gustave Flaubert. Charles Ludlam as the Princess Salambo in ancient Carthage. Charles Ludlam. as the Princess Salamo. I am the priestess of the moon. Ah, with a dance of the seven veils. Unbelievable. It was all happening right in this little corner of the world. Incredible. Right there. And us at Marie's Crisis. Now, here's the mystery. Here's the mystery we have to solve. Where did the name come from? Where did the name Marie's Crisis come from? I didn't know at the time. I didn't know for years. Marie's Crisis. So I asked a bunch of people who love this bar, some of them as much as I do, and they wrote to me their answers. And here are some of them. These are people's answers about where does the title, the name of the cafe, of the bar, Marie's Crisis, come from. Somebody said, it's a gay guy having a breakdown. So, gay guys call each other Mary, like, oh, Mary, right? So this is like Marie's Crisis, having a breakdown about something. This was my best. This is my favorite response. I love this one. This one is, I always thought it was a reference to some drag queen who couldn't sing. I always thought the club was the answer to Marie's crisis of not being able to find a place to sing. So it is the answer for all of us, a dark room where the alcohol flows freely and we all of us sound like Ethel Merman or Mary Martin or Patty Lupone. I love that. And this is another answer. Now, this guy is not PC. This is not a PC answer. He says, I kind of always thought Marie was a hag in love with a fag. Such a crisis. Unless the crisis is that she's an alcoholic or a tranny or can't decide what to sing or all of the above. Ooh, not my favorite response. So where'd it come from? This wonderful place. Marie's Crisis, woo! That's a ballyhoo. Woo! Where'd the name come from? Where'd it come from? Well, it was owned by a woman named Marie, and she was the first person to turn it into a club. And you can see here, it became her cafe. Now here's the building, Marie's, right? That's what it looks like, even now. And you look down here, and now the name of it has changed to Marie's Crisis. So here it's Marie's, but down here it's Marie's Crisis. So where'd the crisis come from? Well, go lower and you'll see a plaque. This is a plaque, a tribute to the great Revolutionary War philosopher, Thomas Paine, who died in this building in 1809. Amazing. And here's the plaque. Thomas Paine had lived in this building. Now, Thomas Paine was an amazing contributor to our glorious revolution. He wrote a series of pamphlets, and one of those series was called The American Crisis. So Marie simply called it Marie's Crisis. She combined herself with Thomas Paine, the great revolutionary philosopher, and created this great club. Now, he started by writing a pamphlet called Common Sense. Now, this is the famous Revolutionary War pamphlet that begins with, "These are the times that try men's souls." And he goes on to say that we have to break away from England. The Continental Congress has got to break away from England. The colonies have got to break away. Then we have to create a powerful fleet to defend us, and then we have to go to war to drive off the English. That was his advice, and he inspired Washington and Adams and Jefferson. He inspired them all with common sense. Then the war started, and it wasn't going well. And Washington ended up at Valley Forge with his army dwindling. He couldn't feed them. They were diseased. They were freezing to death. They were losing battles. They had nothing to keep them going. So he distributed copies of Common Sense to the soldiers to inspire them. And every copy had to be paid for. And all of the money that Thomas Paine made off of these Common Sense copies, he gave to the Continental Congress to win the war. He was broke. He had no money. He came to this country with nothing. He never had anything, but he gave all the money, $1 million, to the Continental Congress to win the war. Well, in the middle of this horrible winter, they needed something more than common sense. So Thomas Paine started writing the American Crisis pamphlets, one after the other, and they inspired the troops. They gave the troops hope. They gave the troops a vision of victory. They helped the troops get through those awful winters, 77, 78, until the victories started happening. Then, after the American Revolution, Thomas Paine went to France. He did the same thing. He wrote The Rights of Man and inspired the French Revolution. And he was for everything. He was for the rights of man, for the rights of women, for the rights of the poor, for the rights of animals. He was so ahead of his time. He was amazing. He inspired everything, and he changed America. He made America. How proud can you be to be in this bar with a huge revolutionary work of art made during the WPA? This bar inspired by the love of gay men for musical comedy, and also Thomas Paine's creating this glorious country where we could be open and free to be gay. It was amazing. And he died right there in that building in 1809. He died broke, unappreciated. Everybody had forgotten him. He died obscure. That wasn't the only tragedy in that area, because even as we were singing at Marie's Crisis, Charles Ludlam was dying slowly. Even every night when he went on stage, he had AIDS, and it was taking him. It was taking him slowly. It was destroying this great queer artist. Ludlam died there too, at the age of 43, that same year, the year that I was discovering that world. This wonderful drag artist died. Did he die in obscurity? No. His obituary was on the front page of the New York Times, above the fold, because New Yorkers were so proud of this off-Broadway artist. And it said in his obituary, because his parents gave permission, it said that he had died of AIDS. Every other obituary before this, when some gay man died of AIDS, it said pneumonia or something. This said he died of AIDS. And that did so much to make people aware of the tragedy, what was being taken away by AIDS, by this disease, which didn't just happen, it was allowed to happen by the government. Charles Ludlam, even in death, a man as inspiring as Thomas Paine. And then, right, a stone's throw, not even a stone's throw, a pebble's throw, a raisin's throw away from the ridiculous theatrical company was the Stonewall Inn, where it had all started, where gay activism started in New York City and started outrageously when a bunch of drag queens resisted arrest. They said, no, you can't arrest us anymore for being gay. We won't take it. And they fought back in 1969. This hallowed ground that I discovered, Marie's Crisis, Thomas Paine, Charles Ludlam, and the Stonewall Inn. Magic. And I don't know, this is where things get a little crazy, because I did my research, and Thomas Paine was married twice, but he never married again. He only was married when he was young. And I'd like to think that maybe he was that way. Well, whatever way he was, he certainly would have approved. He would have approved of everything that happened right there in that little corner of New York. And that's where I became me fully. I became a proud musical comedy person, out and proud. I became a proud theater person inspired by wonderful people like Charles Ludlam. I became a proud gay man, ready to fight back like those drag queens at the Stonewall Inn. And in my little way back then, I felt like at Marie's Crisis and that little opera company and the plays that I would do subsequently, somehow I made it in New York as myself. I mentioned queer earlier. I discovered queer, as E.B. White said I would. I'd been lucky, but I made my own luck. But I've been lucky, but I made my own luck. But I've been lucky. And that's the thing about luck. If you make it, it starts coming to you. And I hadn't been destroyed. Give me the vamp again. Dun, dun, da, 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 dun, dun, da, 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 dun, dun, da, 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 da. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York. Thank you so much for joining me. You were a terrific audience. I heard you out there on every number, even the dog. Good work, very good work. It was a pleasure. Theater Rhinoceros has been presenting live online shows streamed direct to your home since COVID-19 began in March. We've produced over 50 of them. This is my 32nd solo show every Thursday night. I'll be back next Thursday night with a piece called Big Island about a gay detective in Hawaii. So I hope you can join me for that. We have a whole series of plays coming up in November with it all kicking off with Blood at the Root and Overlooked Latinas. So check out our subscription. We'd love to have you subscribe. We're going to begin the season inside like we are now, broadcasting out, and eventually, hopefully, before summer next year, we'll go outside, back into the theaters for live performance. So we call it our Inside Outside season. We also have readings coming up and radio plays. So check us out on the web, www.therhino.org. Also, if you'd like to make a donation to encourage these performances that we've been providing for free online, we could certainly use your support. These are tough times, as you can imagine. You can send your donation to me, John Fisher, at my COVID-19 office, Theater Rhinoceros, 91 Central Avenue, number 102, San Francisco, California, 94117. Or you can go online to therhino.org and make a donation there on PayPal, TheRhino.org. And here's to San Francisco opening up again. Here's to New York opening up again. Here's to theater coming back, be it on Broadway or off Broadway or off Broadway or right here in San Francisco. Thank you so much for joining me. And clap. Yeah, let's all do it. Clap. Yay! Good night.